Time for another 30 for 30. Thank you for watching so far. And let me tell you a story real quick here. A man in China recently walked into the factory where he worked. Okay. And he lit the place on fire. Now, why would he do that? The fire actually burned for over 37 hours. Imagine that, right? Intentional fire. It wasn't because of politics. It wasn't because of religion. He said it was because they owed him 800 yuan, which is about $110. And that man was 27 years old. His name was Wen. He worked at a textile plant in Pingshan, which is a county in Sichuan province. And maybe kind of is because of politics, right? It's always about politics in China. Because the government there screws everything up. Okay? He didn't file a complaint. He didn't call the police. He didn't protest, for sure. Because in China, that wouldn't have done anything. So, he lit the place up. Now, the state says, of course, the government's going to say this, that he was already paid. That he left voluntarily. That it wasn't about the money. But that's not what history's been telling us. See, this isn't the first time this has happened. This has been happening a lot recently. It's not going to be the last either, that's for sure. You see, you have to understand about the reality of work in China. The real work. Not what, like, us foreigners have seen over there as English teachers. The people that are working in factories in the countrysides and things like that. China is known for these factories, right? You may not see them. They're definitely there. They're known for its production lines, its endless supply of cheap labor. But what doesn't the world see? They don't see what happens when those workers stop getting paid. It happens. It happens all the time. Thousands of companies in China are behind on wages right now. And I can tell you, when I've worked for English teaching companies in China, when they're behind on wages, when things aren't very good, they start cutting pay to the Chinese people first, and then they came to us foreigners. Now, I never would have that crap. I always told them, if you do not pay me now, little Johnny is going to be sitting in that room alone tomorrow because I'm going to be somewhere else. So I would get paid. For Chinese people, it's a little different. They don't have that bargaining power, right? They just don't have it. So when there's no money, there's no options, and there's no protection. Okay? Because many of these companies, not just one or two, but many have shut down overnight, and they vanish. And workers are just told to go home, told to wait. Think about that. You're told to go home and to wait. You're going to get paid. You're going to get paid eventually, sir. Mr. John, Mr. Dan, Ginny, you're going to get paid. Just wait. The government doesn't help. The courts don't help because they don't act fast enough. The police don't intervene. And the companies, often protected by local officials who are taking the cut, because that's how it works in China, everyone can be bribed, they walk away. Okay? This is the system. It's not a mistake. It's not a fluke. It's how the system works. It's how the system was designed. Because under the CCP, workers are disposable. Okay? The economy is what matters. The appearance is what matters. National pride. National pride. National pride is the prize for them. Okay, not human lives. Okay. And that's the thing. They don't care about individual freedom. They don't care about individual feelings. So you're disposable. And the greatest part of all, it's a growing pattern in China. It's not an isolated incident. This isn't the first time we've seen this. Go back just a few years. You found factory workers who were chaining themselves to gates. Employees jumping off roofs to protest unpaid wages. People threatening mass suicide outside of government buildings. Entire labor strikes being erased from Chinese media. And now, they're starting fires. Because they've tried everything else. And no one is listening. No one's listening. The man in Sichuan, he's been nicknamed online as 800 Ge. Ge means brother in Mandarin, Putonghua. Brother 800, a hero, a symbol, a man who went too far. But in the eyes of many, had no choice. What else could he do, right? Because when you work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, just to be ignored, abandoned, and left unpaid, okay, you don't just snap over 800 yuan. You snap over being treated like you're worth less than 800 yuan. And that's what's happened here. But what does the Chinese government do? What do they say? Well, it's his fault. They blame him. They say he was irrational. He was emotionally unstable. They say he was already paid, that he's just a criminal. Because to them, a fire is more embarrassing than a broken system. They'll never admit that this is part of a larger pattern. They'll never admit that workers in China, the very people who built its so-called economic miracle, are being pushed to complete psychological collapse by the very same companies the CCP props up. They want the world to see the shiny cities, the bullet trains, the empty ghost malls. But not this. That's not what they want you to see. Never. They don't want you to see this ever. But it's going to get worse because China's economy is slowing. Youth unemployment is sky high. Small businesses are closing. Foreign companies are leaving. They're tired of it. The world is tired of the actions by the CCP. And a trust in the system is crumbling from the inside out. Which means more workers will be exploited. More people will be promised wages that they never receive. And more will break just like Brother 800. Because in a country where you can't sue, you can't speak out, you can't protest, you can't even share your experience without being censored, what's left? You light a fire. You watch it burn. And in a twisted, desperate way, you feel heard. That's what we're seeing. This isn't strength. This is a collapse. And the CCP wants to tell the world that China is rising, that it's strong, that it's unified, it's disciplined. But this is the other side. The rage, the desperation, the collapse at the worker level, where no one's listening and no one's coming to help. You don't see that in propaganda videos, okay? You don't hear that in China Max travel vlog. Bald and Bankrupt's not putting that out there. But it's real. It's growing. Every flame, every protest, every scream from inside the system. It's a warning. This isn't stability. Okay? It's a powder keg. And it's only a matter of time before the CCP can't silence it anymore. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and have a good day.